It is time for another Geekish podcast. I figured we should add some fanfare in on that.
Oh, we do need to come up with some sound effects or some music, just because it's...
We've been saying that for 2 years now, right? Something?
Hey, it's... The day of recording this is International Podcasters Day, so we can cut ourselves some slack, right?
Okay. Fair enough.
That was the post I put out there. 3,000 times people have said, I want to hear what you guys have to say. So, thank you.
It's true. I'm Derek.
I'm Bino.
And we're going to talk at you for a little bit about, well, geeky stuff, and maybe you'll learn something. Now, Bino, I have a question for you.
Uh-huh.
Have you ever thought to yourself, octagons have 8 sides. Octopus or octopi have 8 legs. Octopus is 8 babies, right?
These are all thoughts that have crossed my mind, yes.
Yeah, so you're sitting there going, why is October the 10th month and not the 8th month? Have you ever wondered that?
I haven't. Can you tell me more?
Well, that's what we're here for. We're going to talk to you a little bit about October and help you learn a little bit, because if you think about it, and this is something that has bothered me since high school when I found out the oct and sept stuff, is sept, like in September, is supposed to be 7th month, and oct, which is 8, is supposed to be 8th month. And you look at December, which is deca, and that's supposed to be 10th month, and it just doesn't, things don't add up. And we have those wacky Romans to thank for that.
Yeah, so here at Get Geekish, this is at least one of my personal favorite seasons, the fall season, the Halloween season. It's one of the best of the year. So we'll figure impart a little knowledge about the history of October, and maybe a little bit of Halloween in there too.
It's the most wonderful time.
I think, to go to your point of why I honestly never really thought much about how the October wasn't the 8th month, because look, we're here in America. We've taken everything from around the world like that and just completely butchered it anyway. Like, yeah, rhyme, reason, like, let's just throw the metric system out there for one. Like,
yeah, but I mean, come on, months have been around forever. It's not like America, said deuces to Europe, came over here, and they were like, you know what, I don't like the months, and then the whole world adopted them. So,
you want to bet? I bet we tried. No, we're keeping track of time the American way.
I don't like the way them Romans did it. Let's get away with all that stuff. Well, I mean, look, we added daylight saving, so I guess you're right there. But yeah, the months is something that's always like, it's perturbed me a little bit. And when I brought it up to you, you were like, huh?
Like I said, we just take it with a grain of salt, like that's the way it always is. But for the little history lesson for everyone that doesn't know what the heck we're talking about yet, October, which we know is the 10th month of the year right now, was in the Julian and the Gregorian calendars, and it was the 6th of 7 months to have a length of 31 days. Let's see here. It was the 8th month in the old calendar of Romulus, which was established back in 750 BC. And it retained its name from Latin and Greek of the octo, meaning 8. And then it got switched around, because when they wanted to add the extra months, they realized that good old, was it Caesar, that decided that they adopted the calendar that didn't quite make the right chance for leap years. So after a few decades or a few centuries, the seasons were off, because the calendars were off by a certain number of minutes or days a year. So you add that up over time, and all of a sudden, like, oh, it's spring's here. Why is it snowing outside? So they had to readjust the calendars, and that in itself, I hadn't actually read about the story prior to tonight, was a very, very long process to make that actually happen, like centuries. And not everybody bought in at once. Different countries and different groups decided at different times to start adopting the new calendars. Can you imagine trying to plan a date with somebody that's using a completely different calendar?
Right. Are you going off the Julian calendar or the Gregorian calendar? Because I'm booked that day.
I don't know what you're talking about. We don't recognize a Julian calendar in this house.
Well, and it's funny, too, because you look at it, how skewed is our years now because of that, right? They added 2 extra months. they added January and February, which pushed October towards the end of the solar year, which was, around 365.24 days long. But you take out those 2 months, how much does it skew the wibbly wobbly time? If you think about that too, like
if somebody's trying to set the time circuits to going back to Europe in the 1600s, you're sorely disappointed. It's between 1582 and 1752 in Europe. There were not only 2 calendars being used in Europe, completely different calendars, but the starts of the year. There was 2 separate starts to the year in England. The legal year began on March 25th, but usually the Gregorian calendar in other European countries led to January 1st being the start of the year. So there's literally somebody saying we have 2 starts to the new year in 2 different calendars for almost 250 years.
Well, and even go before that, where October was the 8th month of the Roman calendar until 153 BCE. So history, man.
I always get amazed when I think back to these kind of things too, of take for granted some of the technology we have now. We can have computers and models and satellites to figure out this kind of stuff. I know exactly, okay, we can measure exactly how quickly we're spinning, how fast we're going in orbit, what our orbit is, calculate stuff. But these hundreds of years ago, people were doing it just by looking at where the sun is in the sky and figuring things out. And they were still within, seconds of a year.
Okay, well, and then so you said Europe during the, no wonder it's the Dark Ages, Middle Ages, whatever, they were using 2 different calendars, right?
Uh-huh.
Throw that into somebody who, say is traveling from that time period and they end up in the southern hemisphere, right? Where October is not fall, it's spring.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that, that also blows my mind too, because, October to us, October, November, December, I remember when I was a little kid, it's always fall. And then when you learn about the southern hemisphere, well, that's actually their spring and summer, you're like, wait, what? So you take this little, peasant from Europe who's going confused by 2 different calendars, throw them in the southern hemisphere. Whoops.
Oopsie, we figured it out. So calendar comparison for accuracy. There was the Persian calendar, which started in the 2nd millennium, and its approximate error was less than 1 second a year. So that Persian calendar was actually pretty solid. The revised Julian calendar is only 2 seconds a year off from the actual what it should be. The Mayan calendar was 13 seconds a year off. The Gregorian calendar that we use now is 27 seconds a year off. Jewish calendar is 7 minutes a year. Julian calendar is 11 minutes a year, and the Coptic calendar is 11 minutes a year. And then the 365-day calendar with no leap years is off 6 hours every year. So all those calendar systems, and not one of them is correct, yet we can't come up with a calendar system that is correct.
Can you imagine if they wanted to add another month in 2020? I'd say, nah, we're good.
People that are into numbers and math probably get a kick out of look at these calendar systems. But if you look at the algorithms or calculations the calendars have for when time is added in leap years, it's a little bit of a mind bend. So in the Julian calendar, a leap day is added every 4 years, no matter what. So the average year is 365.25 days long, but it's not quite accurate. Gregorian calendar, they changed the rules a little bit. There's, I don't think I found these on there, but I think it's you add a leap year every year that's divisible by 4, unless the year ends in a 10 or a 400, and then you add the year regardless, or something ridiculous like that I don't know about. And then the revised Julian calendar. Let's see, what were the rules for that one?
Can you imagine being in on those meetings trying to come up with all the rules for the calendars?
Oh, sorry, I was getting that confused. The revised Julian calendar is the one that has that. Revised Julian calendar is there are leap years every year that is evenly divisible by 4, except years that are also only divisible by 100, and the remainder is neither 200 nor 600, then divided by 900, then it's not a leap year.
Jeez Louise.
And you said you were never going to use algebra. Here it is.
Well, and the funny thing is, too, so you have all those rules and everything like that. That's why October is now kind of screwed. And in the early Roman calendar, it had 10 months, right? And, of course, being the Roman calendar, they had it named like Martus, Aprilius, Maius, Junius, Quintilius, Sextilius, which Quintilius and Sextilius kind of start making sense, right? Because you're like, okay, there's 5, 6, and then you got September, October, November, December. Did they run out of Iliuses for that? Anyway, so obviously the last 6 months had the numerical preferences. And then it had a major flaw. So this is where I think they were like, yeah, let's come up with a new one, is because all the days in the months didn't add up to a full year. So I'm surprised that they went the route of adding new months rather than making the months longer. But then you said a couple centuries later, January and February added to the calendar to bring it closer to 365 days.
I feel like maybe to get rid of this whole thing, because we'll throw a whole other thing in there if we're going to go with the Americanized screwing up of things. Did you grow up thinking Oktoberfest had to do with October?
Yes. I did. I was always baffled when I was like,
I feel like that was one of those moments of education dropping the ball.
Right? When they're like,
wait.
it's Oktoberfest time. I'm like, it's August. What are you talking about? August, September. Come on.
I feel like we could go back to the Saxons, though, because you know what the Saxons referred to the month of October.
Yes, I do, but I want to hear you pronounce it.
I believe it's Winterfylleth.
Yeah, something.
Or Winterfylleth. I'm not positive.
Man, I love that festival.
It had the first full moon of the winter season, so it was Winterfylleth. Somebody that speaks Saxon, correct me.
Yeah.
Or we could go with the Germanic version of the historical name in Germany. It was Wyn Monath, because it was wine month.
Which makes sense.
I'm down with that. It's already fall. It's already Halloween. Let's add wine month. It'll be the best month of the year. Forget December.
You know what cracks me up, too, is I don't mean to be dwelling on the Romans, but they screwed up a lot of things. I mean, they did a lot of great things, but they also screwed up some stuff.
They took over most of the world.
Yeah, they were so full of themselves. Like in 44 BC, Quintilis, which was the 5th month, so that'd be May, was renamed to July to honor Julius Caesar, which, you know, since they added that, the 5th month got switched to the 7th month. So Julius Caesar's like, you know what? I like that month. That's mine. And then, of course, August was renamed to honor Augustus Caesar. So you got 2 Caesars that are like, yo, give me a month. Can you imagine if we still had that? We'd be...
I'm not going to go down that road in this podcast. I don't want to lose any friends.
So here's the thing, too. You said time travel. I would love just to go back to that time period and talk to a farmer, go, hey, what day is it? I don't know. They added a new month that I'm not used to yet, so I don't know why he sounds like
we also figure, too, like, the little I know of medieval Europe, I'm sure a lot of people didn't care what the date was.
True.
They knew it was harvest season. Like, is it going to be hot? Is it going to be cold? What day is it? I don't know.
It's a day that the king didn't kill me, so it's all good.
I'm not in shackles and getting beat right now. We're going to call it a good day. Have a pint, shall we?
Oh, man. But there you go. October used to be the 8th month on that one. So now that we got that out of the way.
And you're learning some because, as you know, from our youth, one of the most important things we learned, knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe. Pork chop sandwiches.
I was waiting for that. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. But, I mean, we could go into all the months, but we're just talking about October right now.
Yeah, because it's timely.
It is. It's like you said, the most wonderful time of the year.
Mm-hmm. And aside from Halloween, there are some other big things that happen in October.
Let's hear it.
American Archives Month. It's National Adopt a Shelter Dog Month. It's National Arts and Humanities Month. It's National Bullying Prevention Month. It's National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Filipino American History Month, Italian American Heritage and Culture Month, Polish American Heritage Month, and National Work and Family Month.
Dang. It's also Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Mm-hmm. And in the United States, October is also National Pizza Month, National Popcorn Poppin' Month, not to be confused with National Popcorn Eatin' Month, National
When's
Pork
that?
Month, and National Seafood Month.
Hold on. Back up. First of all, you're telling me I can eat pizza every day and not feel guilty? Great.
Because you felt guilty eating pizza before.
Yeah. It's National Popping Popcorn Month.
According to this, it is National Popcorn Poppin' with the apostrophe month.
But it's not National Popcorn Eating Month. So it means you have to save all the popcorn that you popped.
Well, it doesn't say you can't eat it. It's not known for the eating part. It's for the popping it. Popcorn lovers, hold on to your hats. October is National Popcorn Poppin' Month. According to the Popcorn Board, national nonprofit organization, October was chosen because of the popcorn harvest, which takes place on each fall in the Midwest. Each year when a new crop is harvested, it reminds us popcorn will always be the naturally fun snack for the entire family. Popcorn Poppin' Month is the perfect time to celebrate popcorn. This message brought to you by Gold Medal Snack Smiles and Success.
First of all, I'm learning something because I didn't even think of a popcorn harvest month. I could
Really
just
just
see
a corn harvest month, but
I could just see Renbacher out there, going, all right, give me them good kernels.
quick, start picking corn. Orville's are coming.
Oh, man. I didn't even think of that. Of course, and then, like you said, something happens at the end of October. It's all like, what is it? All Hallows Eve or something like that?
Halloween or Halloween or Hallows Evening or All Halloween or All Hallows Eve or All Saints Eve. You whip those together.
That's a lot.
One thing you don't whip them together with is you don't whip it together with Dia de los Muertos. That is a completely different holiday.
That's in November.
I believe it starts at the end of October, goes through November, but it has a lot of costumes. It happens close to Halloween, so of course the very non-cultural side just lumps it together. That's the same holiday, but very, very different holidays. Both have their fun times.
Day of the Dead starts October 31st and ends November 2nd.
Yes.
So there you go.
Yeah, so that happens same time. Coinciding, not collaborating.
Yeah, they don't mean the same thing.
At all.
No.
Observed in most countries, October 31st. It is the eve of the Western Christian feast of All Hallows Day and begins the 3-day observance of All Hallow Tide. I didn't hear about that before tonight. Look at that. It's the time of the liturgical year dedicated to remembering the dead, including the saints, martyrs, and all of the faithful departed. It's widely believed that Halloween traditions originated from the ancient Celtic harvest festivals, particularly the Gaelic festival of... How many words can I mispronounce in one podcast?
The festival of what? The Gaelic festival of what?
Samhain? Samhain?
Sounds about right.
I don't speak it. I don't know.
If you're listening to this podcast, you're not listening for the pronunciation of stuff. You're listening to learn and geek out with us.
I'm helping you learn because you can look it up and you can tell me I'm wrong. And I'm okay with that.
There's somebody out there that just did an epic facepalm. They're like, that's not how you say that.
But I'm hoping that I'm earning a little bit of credit by not saying like, well, I know how to say it. It's Samhain. Yeah, that's right. I know what I'm talking about. I don't
You're
know.
Definitely not saying it with confidence.
No, not at all. I don't know how to say it. There's a lot of consonants and vowels that are not in the same place. But obviously there's a lot of customs that have come about that have strange origins. Like trick-or-treating is one of the biggest ones. This year, not so much, but usually trick-or-treating is a huge part about Halloween. But that came, where was it? I had this in my brain earlier, and now it's completely gone. So I'm going to look at the origin of trick-or-treating.
Well,
did it have to do something like turnips or beets or something like that?
What are you, Dwight Schrute? It's funny because we have the internet right here. Because I didn't write that one down. But trick-or-treating can be traced to the ancient Celts, early Roman Catholics, and politics. So, wow. 17th century British politics, to be exact. Trick-or-treating, setting off on Halloween night in costume, ringing doorbells to demand treats has been a tradition in the United States and other countries for more than a century. I want to say, if you ever have time, Google trick-or-treating costumes from, well, before the modern age, and they are creepy.
Well,
Like,
yeah, they had to be creepy. You know what they did for?
well, yeah, to ward off spirits. But what I'm saying is, like, I'm talking
they were
like
dressing up trying to scare off evil spirits.
I must be an evil spirit because this scares me. You look at some of these, you're like, ooh. But now they're all cute.
In the 9th century, Christianity had spread into the Celtic lands where it blended with some of the pagan tribes back there. So on 1000 AD, the church designated November 2nd as All Souls Day to honor the dead, and celebrations in England started resembling the Celtic commemorations. And then people would visit the houses of wealthier families in town and receive pastries called soul cakes in exchange for a promise to pray for the souls of the homeowner's dead relatives, known as souling. So they'd literally go down to the rich neighborhood. We went to the rich neighborhood to get full-size candy bars. They went to the rich neighborhoods to say, hey, I'll pray for your dead grandma if you give me some soul cakes.
So here's something from history.com. They're saying that like a large number of new immigrants that were fleeing because of the Irish potato famine in the 1840s helped popularize Halloween. In the early 20th century, Irish and Scottish communities revived the old world traditions of souling and guising in the United States. And then by the 1920s, pranks had become the Halloween activity of choice for rowdy young people. Then that thing called the Great Depression hit and made the problem worse, with Halloween mischief often devolving into vandalism, physical assaults, and sporadic acts of violence. And then one theory suggests that excessive pranks on Halloween led to the widespread adoption of an organized community-based trick-or-treating tradition in the 1930s. So those rascally kids trying to find happiness in the Depression took it too far.
Makes me feel a little less angry about when my pumpkins get thrown out in the middle of the street.
You're like, they're celebrating the old ways of the Depression.
Yeah, at least they didn't throw it through my window, I guess.
That's true.
We'll call it a win.
Well, it's funny too, because I mean, each family. So, I'm sure you had your own little Halloween traditions. You know, especially growing up in Colorado, our Halloween traditions, we've talked about this before, was bundling up so you couldn't really see our costume anyway because it was so cold and usually snowed. But
I got the greatest costume on earth. It's under this parka.
It's funny to go back and think of the trick-or-treating things, and that this started, you know, way back when as a way to ward off evil spirits, and then became this fun-loving holiday, if you will. I mean, there's still spooky stuff that happens, haunted houses, horror movies, all that stuff. But now it's just, you know, take somebody from the 1700s who did this religiously to scare off spirits and to honor the dead and bring them now, and you're like, that kid's a wolf, man. Isn't that cool? That'd just be funny. Anyway.
So, do you know where bobbing for apples came from?
I know it's not very hygienic, and you definitely don't want to do it this year.
Right.
But no.
With your pod, maybe. But it actually came from Scotland. It may be called ducking or ducking. In Northern England, the game is often called apple ducking or duck apple. And in Ireland, it was known as County Kerry. It's snap apple. But it dates back to the Roman invasion of Britain when their conquering emerged.
Those wacky Romans again.
Yeah, the Romans, they're all part of it. And during an annual celebration, young unmarried people would try to bite into an apple floating in water or hanging from a string in a line rather than in a bowl of water. And the first person to bite into the apple would be the next one to be allowed to marry. And we have our kids do this. I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, though, whether it be in water or an apple on a string, if you're fighting someone trying to take a bite out of it, aren't you either going to kiss them or jab your teeth into each other's face trying to do that? Or am I just getting like way too like aggressive with my thought of how I play bobbing for apples?
Well, have you ever bobbed for apples?
Yeah.
I haven't.
Really?
So, well, here's the reason why. It's always kind of terrified me in the thought of there's 6 people doing it at once, and there's all that transfer of saliva and God knows what else in there, and I don't feel like eating mushy apples. That's why I never
apples
did it.
Don't get mushy.
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't?
No, what I'm saying I've seen people pop for apples and the apple just kind of disintegrates. So who knows how long it's been in the water.
They've got right. But go get an apple. You go buy an apple, you put it in a bowl of water tonight, you take a bite of it tomorrow. It'll be just fine. Apples are made to they hold up to the elements.
I know, but they don't hold up to 6 thrashing teenagers all trying to get it at once. And
that is true. I will think back to, I want to say like a church Halloween event. There was a big bobbing for apples thing, but it was like a giant kiddie pool full of them. So throughout the night, in hindsight, there probably was 50 or 60 kids that all dunked their faces into that water trying to get apples.
Mm-hmm. That's why, again, I'm like, I don't want to do it.
Maybe this is one of those Halloween traditions that's going to be phased out very quickly with the advent of highly advanced infectious diseases, possibly.
Could be. One last thing, Halloween related.
Okay.
The jack-o'-lantern. These little guys behind me. You know where they came from?
I forget. I've learned it once in the past, but it doesn't stick up here like most things don't.
Irish immigrants brought the tradition of carving pumpkins into jack-o'-lanterns to America. So we have the Irish to thank for it. But the original jack-o'-lantern was not a pumpkin. Pumpkins did not exist in Ireland. Ancient Celt cultures in Ireland carved turnips.
That's what it was.
Yep, that's where you were thinking
That's
of
where I
turnips.
was thinking of beets. Okay.
And
something stuck in here.
And place an ember in them to ward off evil spirits. So it's crazy that they went from turnips to this gourd, a pumpkin. It works.
Move from a root to a gourd. Gourds are much better for fending off spirits.
We should try to. That's what we should do this year. Maybe we need to go back and start carving turnips again. Let's get some turnips and carve them and see how well that goes.
Aren't turnips like this big? Like how do you?
No, turnips are big, dude.
I'm thinking of beets. There we go. Yeah. Okay.
Well, even beets can be big.
Look
at sugar beets.
No, radishes.
Radishes, man. Here, it's all a root.
I don't eat a whole lot of vegetables.
Oh man. Anyway, well, the thing is too is you look at a pumpkin opposed to a turnip. Turnip is like a solid mass, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's got to be hard to carve and put an ember in it.
I feel like carved turnips would probably look like those little shrunken heads from
right?
Indiana Jones, like Beetlejuice.
Okay. My goal I'm going to carve a turnip. I'm going to do it.
Okay, so should we make that our homework? We need to carve turnips and compare them.
Yeah, let's do it.
That would be fun.
We have until October 31st to do it. So
I challenge you to a turnip duel.
Got to ward off those evil spirits, man. The Celtic way.
Man, we managed to stay on the rails pretty good with this one, but that we'll let you go for tonight. But hopefully you learned a few things. You got to share a little learning adventure with us about Halloween, the changing of our calendar, and the month of October, because maybe you have some fun facts you can share with your friends now. Right?
And just know the difference between a turnip and a radish, because I would
you cause some problems.
Hey, I carved a turnip and you carved this little radish. I mean, I would applaud you for it, but
that being said, hit us up social media at Geekish, and want to hear something from you. You can correct all the things that I said wrong if you want to, or maybe a picture of your favorite carved pumpkin, or if you've ever carved a turnip, or maybe you should carve a turnip too and get in our contest, and we'll share your photos with us.
Dude, we should.
We're starting a movement. We're gonna The turnip industry is gonna love Get Geekish.
Why spend $20 on a pumpkin when you could go get a turnip for, I don't even know how much they are. Animal prices, they're 94 bells, but that's it.
Let's turnip. How much is a turnip?
Careful,
That's our parting gift
say,
for you. How much is a turnip?
You're gonna get into Animal Crossing territory there with turnip prices.
Oh, that's right. Turnips are the Animal Crossing cash du jour thing, right? Like,
yeah, it's the stock market.
Okay, right now at our local grocery store, a turnip costs about $1.82.
That's a heck of a lot cheaper than pumpkin.
Pumpkins. Yeah, forget the pumpkin patch. I'm getting
Plus,
turnips.
you can make a nice turnip stew.
I feel like I need to carve a beet too, just to see if I can.
One of the red ones.
Yeah, because when earlier when I was thinking of beets instead of turnips, I'm imagining some little poor Irish kid trying to carve this tiny little face. Like,
that's a radish. Again, you're getting them confused.
Yeah,
Gotta end it. You gotta end it.
That's it. All right, we're done. At Get Geekish. We'll talk at you next week. Happy freaking October.